You feeling better?
A little bit.
Well, I hope you ain't behind us.
No, I'm not
Get
there.
sick.
I can take that.
Is this
11
that
days.
paper I gave you? I need
Something
them
wrong.
because I think you probably got some here.
Couple of them called me, had to go to Houston this morning. Go to work.
Heard that song.
Where I'm at,
Yeah.
what am I doing?
Yesterday I had to take me out to the ballpark on my head.
Oh, yeah. I always pray.
It is 9:01. If you would write that down for us, Ms. Kelly, we'll start this budget meeting this morning. Workshop agenda today is topics of the meeting may include not to limited discussion to the following discussion regarding Tyler County employees' health insurance options for the upcoming renewal. And I'm gonna turn it over from there to Madam Treasurer. All right.
Good morning, good morning. So I put on everybody's little area a review. And the review just simply is, the first part of it is just kind of a synopsis of everything. The back part of it is the new year review that TAC provides for us, and that's where all this information comes from. So I just put it like all in one easy to read location. I did a renewal poll, and I'm going to tell you why I did it. I did it because we have a lot of our employees who have our health insurance because we pay for it, and that's great. It's a wonderful benefit that we have. But they don't have their families listed as insurance on their policy because they simply can't afford it. And we all know health insurance is very, very expensive, and that is not a new thing, but that is where we're at as far as it pertains to spouse and children. And so when Orlando, our TAC guy, came down, we talked some things, talked about some options that maybe we could offer those employees that wanted maybe to add a child or children, not so much the spouse, but the child or children, to the policy. And he sent out some options. And the biggest catch of all of it, and I'll just get straight to the punch, is the biggest catch of all of it is that Tyler County has a very rich policy, is what they call it, at TAC. And in that policy, we have a $250 grandfather deductible policy, which means for as long as we can afford it, we will always have a $250 deductible. So the alternative is if we decided to offer another option, not get away with $250 but offer another option to the employees, so that they actually be able to choose one or the other policy. The problem is we would lose that grandfather status. TAC assures me that the grandfather status limits us to some benefits. They assure me that it is better to go with the new policy. They assure me that we will always have the option for the $250 deductible, but there's nothing in writing that says that, and I can't stand here and say we will never lose a $250 deductible. So what I did was I took it to the employees, and out of 111 employees that are insured currently, we had about 22 to 24. Some people refused, or not refused, but declined answering. But we had several people who answered the poll or answered the survey that I asked. And the majority of those 22 to 23, 24 people stated that they did not want to mess with the policy. But in the middle of the survey, we also found out that those same people would go to the doctor a little bit more if those preventative benefits were provided at no cost to the employee. And that is the positive of changing over from the non-grandfather side of things. There's other positives as well, but the main thing is that all the preventative care, the colonoscopy, mammography, all of their oscopies, I guess, are all covered at no cost through the non-grandfathered side. Some people said that $25 to a copay for that is not a big deal to them. Some people said if it's not broke, don't fix it. And some people said we need to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. When it comes to insurance, there's always a trade-off for something to get something else, and that is the truth. So I'm not recommending that we change over. I'm not recommending that we move from the grandfather, policy at this time. I think that there were not enough people to state that they wanted the higher deductible, which would be option number 2, for us to warrant moving over. And that being said, we would need at least 14 or 15 of them to take the higher deductible to pay for the changes that we have. So I'm not recommending that. There just wasn't enough input for that side of it. What I am recommending is that we look at what we can do as a county to offset increases in the future to help us maintain the grandfather status and be able to afford it. Because there's 2 ways to get rid of the grandfather status. One is us to make some changes that warrant that, and the other part of that is that the premiums could be so expensive that we as a whole county could not afford. And so we can do some things to offset that in the future. And that's what is in this report. What you'll notice is in this factors that TAC looks at in determining our premium. For the reasons of the 8.2% increase in premium for the county expense, is part of that comes from a massive increase in our loss ratio. So we went from the 80s to 125% loss ratio, which there's nothing we can do to stop that. I mean, some years are better than others, and some years are just what they are. But what we can do is, TAC says that because of our population and because of the way our county dynamics are, the loss ratio is not the only thing that they look at when figuring our premiums. And what they do look at is whether or not our employees are taking advantage of the preventative care that is there, whether or not they participate in TAC office programs, and whether or not they participate in the wellness programs. And I've listed those out over there for us to do that. And one of the major things that they tell us that we could look at doing that would help us offset some of these costs are the county-specific incentives. And all those are just an incentive that the county wholly supports from Commissioner's Court that says if you will go take care of your preventative care, if you will go have your well visit, if you go do your colonoscopies or whatever it is, that we will offer you this to make sure that we are as a whole county taking care of all of our business. And I listed some ideas to do that. But the idea is that if we can get our people to go to the doctor and have checkups and take care of themselves ahead of time, predict exactly what it means, is that it will help in our configuration of next year's premiums. So
what you're saying, Madam Treasurer, you feel like if we were to somehow can get our employees maybe to get more physicals,
yes.
kind of encourage them to get some physicals. We can't make them do anything, but encourage them. It would help with our rates in the future.
Yes. So to give you an idea of how low that is and what hurt us a lot in our figuring of this new 8.2 low, of 111 employees that are insured with TAC for Crossville Shield, only 9 received this or we got this.
Okay.
So if you take the 9 and you come back over and you look at the total payout for claims of top chronic conditions, those 2 numbers kind of figure out high payout and low people time to take care of it. And so some of the ways that they can take care of these chronic conditions would be taking advantage of the MD Live, which have no deductible to the employee, and also maintains that constant, taking care of the issues. They can do that. They can do, they're going to have the preventative cares procedures done, and then also in the meantime of that, one of the things that we as a county have already put in place is we have our Healthy County boot camps, so Healthy County 101 we just recently did. And every time we do that, that helps offset some of our costs as well. And then on the flip side of that, we get incentive dollars. This past year, we got 700 to help encourage and offset some of the costs that the county does to promote these things within. So the more we do, the better off we are. We have, at our county, we have the opportunity to earn $7,000 a year. This past year, we earned 700 of that because we had a health fair or benefit fair. To help go along the way for that, to get a little bit more of those dollars, if we have that county-specific incentive, then we would get credit for that as well.
Now, the MD Live, I've tried getting on there before myself,
Yeah.
and a couple of times we've had just some troubles getting on there. Is that something maybe we could, that would help the rates if more people did MD Live, is what you're saying?
And it also helped them too, I would say that, because it's not necessarily, if I understand correctly, and let me go back and say, I want to do what the county employees want to do, because I don't have this insurance. And so I don't have a dog in this fight, so I want to make sure that everybody is, everybody's good. This is not one thing that I'm rooting for or not, so this is just the things that I think we can help do. So, but if I understand correctly, it's MD Live in the household.
Okay.
So just because, Melanie, am I right?
Yeah, I've used the Teladoc before, even though I'm not on his insurance, we just paid the copay for it.
Go back.
So that is a benefit to those families that, maybe would look at something else. But if more people would use that,
Is that something maybe we could, let the people know a little bit more about somehow, maybe the employees?
it's in the newsletter. It's
Yeah.
in the newsletter every time I put one.
Okay,
out.
no, they know that
Just
there's
not very
Now, the
interesting,
way
I
if you
don't think.
could,
Oh my gosh.
but if you put it on an actual, that's what it's for, and send it with the official to give it their people, then they can't say, well, I didn't see it.
I have done that too, but I will continue
Let's
to do
do it
that.
again, and give me something and I'll give it.
My thought is that yes,
What did you say a while ago? Out of 111 people?
Yeah.
Only how many?
Nah.
What does that mean?
so what that means is preventative care. I'm not saying that only 9 people use their insurance. What I'm saying is only 9 people are meant for
Go to
their
have
wellness.
wellness checkup.
Wellness.
Wellness visits.
Only 9 people out of 111 went for physical last
I
year.
know I took care of my part.
Well, I can't even say, I stayed at the doctor.
I go every 3 months.
Well, you
so-
can't get your medicine.
If you don't.
Exactly. So, well, if you look back though, you see that like of all the people, and then I will also say
They
this.
probably listed as a call.
That is a lot of how you file. So when you go in, and this is part of the educational process, when you go in, you have to say, I need my wellness checkup. Because
They won't,
our,
they won't record it as that if we don't.
exactly, you're being
Okay.
reported as treating
Okay.
other chronic issues. So if I go in for COPD and I have that chronic issue, but every year I need to get my COPD medication,
Then you're not gonna be recorded as a wellness.
exactly.
So we need to go specifically for a wellness
Exactly.
check.
I don't want to do a wellness checkup. I'm afraid they'll find something else.
That's what most people do.
So what I thought we could do, and Mike, you may think of this yesterday, but what I thought we could do is get it closer to our open enrollment, where this really starts paying out for us. If we could work something out with the hospital.
Yeah.
So that we could have a day or two or a day a week for a little while, that if our employees would go during that period, maybe we could work out something where the deductible could be waived, or it could be reduced, or it could be offset somehow. I will also say that a lot of our employees do have the Aflac policy that pays them every time they go, that's $60 once a year. So that is, we need to tie that back into that. But I think if we could work out something with the hospital, so we could have either they come here, we just do like in school, like when we used to go get physicals for athletics, something along that line, maybe we could do that.
Well, see, I've been several times, but I've never told them for a wellness checkup, so that may be something that I need to let them know.
And I think we all do that, because we're like, none of us know the insurance terminology, so know what we need to
Right.
get paid.
Yeah.
When you're not well, it don't work anyway.
Also, there are a couple other things that we, most recently we did a walk contest. I know you all participated so heavily in that. Actually, we only had 2 or 3 participate and finish. We get credit for everybody that does that. So they keep up with everybody that does that. So if you had a smartwatch and you linked it to their website, to their sonic phone, because we do that, then when we do that, we all get credit for our county participation in that. So
Or you gotta walk.
Where you gonna walk?
How far?
Just keep up with how much
Yes,
you walk
yeah,
every
keep
day.
up. It does it
You have to have
itself.
one of them smart
You
watches.
have the app, it just does it itself. I don't know about
Donna has that.
Technology.
So it says it gives us credit. How does the credit, what is the credit benefit us?
So the credit goes into the formula, figuring out what our increase or next premium is gonna be. So instead of our county just looking at, because of the size and population of our employees, instead of TAC looking at just that loss ratio, because of those numbers, we get other things figured into that so that it doesn't hurt us as badly.
What will be, Woody?
Hey, so, the other thing, that's really what I'd like to see us do, is just come up with some sort of county specific incentive, whether it be offer a PTO day, when you go, come back, bring your thing to your receipt that says I had a wellness visit, and then you do that, you get a PTO day. I don't know. That wouldn't be an immediate cost, it would be a budgeted cost, but it wouldn't be an immediate cost. And everybody would be doing that for a day off, you know. But those are just things that TAC recommends, and listed it actually, the incentive listed it actually as one of our priorities. So our county trainings, we want to do more of those county trainings, every time I have TAC come in to do those, that is a priority, which we do that. So we do that and we take care of that, so that is there, and then the specific. Now, this velocity that they have, they encourage all that, because that's a big thing. We can't participate in that. We don't have a velocity person closer to us. They are like a bone joint kind of thing, so aches and pains and all that.
May I ask her a question? So to go from the $700 the credit we got to the $7,000, what has to happen? And can that money be used for what you're talking about, the copay, to encourage people to go to the doctor for a well check? And can we tell the doctor's offices that if they'll code that? I mean, when I go to the doctor for a well check, well, like I went the other day and I had several things wrong with me. I had shingles, I had sinus infection, and I had something else I can't remember. But they told me I couldn't have all 3 things. Right. The insurance company only wants you to have 1 thing. And I said, so should I leave and walk across the street to urgent care for my other thing? And they said, well, we're gonna go ahead and code it this way now. But next time when you come in, you really only need to come in for 1 thing.
So you can pay copay.
Yeah,
my
I mean, that's
God.
what it makes sense for me to go to the hospital for shingles because you're only wanting, anyway, that's just my own personal insurance story. But is there a way to talk to these offices, doctor's offices about that?
I think if we work with the hospital and say, like I said, we did like we do a tool. For these 2 weeks, if you go to the clinic, they know when you come in, we're going to do a wellness visit. And that may help as far as that goes. But if you just sit in the meantime, you need that, you know.
Yeah, I know, can't do
We
it
need
all the
just
time.
wellness. We just need wellness.
They were kind enough to treat all my things.
And they will, you're always coming.
Treat it like your thing.
So,
They didn't want to.
the next step to get more of those dollars is the county incentive. And for every learning thing that we do, we get money for those. So, as far as using it for some of those copays, I That's the commissioner's decision, official decision.
Well, just on a side note, everybody in this room is at the age where they could probably get the shingles.
Yes, you all are.
So
And they're very
I would
painful.
highly recommend that you go and get your vaccination for it, because I have a good friend that has had it for about 6 months, and he is probably going to be permanently disabled from it. I mean, it has really done a number on him. So if you've ever had the chickenpox, the virus is already in your body, so it would behoove you to go and be vaccinated. It's 2 shots, and the insurance paid for it. Yeah, you just go to Berkshire Brothers and tell them you want a shingle shot. They won't give it at the doctor. That's the weirdest thing.
You gotta be 50 years old before you can get it.
Yeah,
And Medicare doesn't pay for it. But the reason why they only do it, they don't go to the doctor's office, because when they open, they open the box, they have 10 shots or something like that, and they don't have 10 people to do it, shots, so they don't go to the doctor's
yeah,
office.
it is a very debilitating,
It's hurt.
yeah, if you get it, it's not pleasant.
Well, I know every year the hospital does call and say, you get a flu shot, or you get whatever, so I think that maybe they could see if they put in another shot.
I definitely don't
Well,
want
I know you can go to Berkshire, because he told me,
Yeah.
of course, when I'd asked about it, I had a cold, so he said, no, you don't need to do it when you got a cold.
Ken and I got ours at Walmart.
Yeah, any place like a pharmacy will give it to you. I got mine because I don't need that on top of other junk.
You know, I think what Joe said is right, though, too, Lydia, and if you'll send something to the department heads, because I don't know that everybody reads the newsletter as much as
Oh, no,
they
no, no, for sure.
I do.
We should. But if our employees knew some of this, I think they, everybody would
Well, and I would say, when we have them, you know, you have it at a central location, and then some of them come and they can't get loose. Would TAC consider going and doing like each office, like going to the Road Bridge Farms and doing all that, rather than having them have to come in here?
No, we've talked about that, in fact, when it comes to open enrollments, I mean, I do go to farms, and I do go to everybody's.
What about the annual safety thing in November?
Yeah.
That'd be a good, I mean, got a captive audience there, so.
And I mean, like, I'll do whatever we need to do, I mean, those are all little ideas.
See, that's the first time I've heard about being able to use the household, use it.
I know,
So-
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so I mean, that, if our employees knew that, I mean, that saves, you know, like, for my family, whenever I have to take them, it's like $95 every time we have to go to the doctor. So, you know, I could call in and $35 copay, and, you know, so that's a savings right there that I think people don't realize is there, you know, I didn't realize it.
Well, I just would ask that, you know, when you do, get those emails from the treasurer that says, we're gonna do such and such, you know, that you pass that along to you guys, and I know that not everybody can come. Like Buck the other day, I was gonna come to your barn and bring some watermelon and kind of tell a little bit about this, but we kept playing contact.
I know. But I never, we just kept,
And so, but I do try to go to every place, every location, I'm trying to.
we need to reschedule that watermelon, I mean, really.
And I did talk to my guys about the health insurance, they were like, that's why we come to work here, for the health insurance, you
No, I
know, keep
agree.
it as long as we can.
I agree with you. Like I said,
I just did a poll of myself of the counties that left grandfather. Did you regret it? What were the ramifications of it? And there really wasn't any that they really put their foot on. What some of them did was because some of them want to keep what we got. Because if you looked at this price, leaving the grandfather is more expensive for the $250 deductible than just doing the renewal. But what they did, and I think that's where Leanne was trying to go, there's, not everybody uses the insurance all the time. You know, there are, not me, but there are some people that are healthy that don't use it like I have to use it because of my chronic condition. And they have like a savings, so where if they raise the deductible to a higher deductible, the county paid for all but whatever the deductible was for the other people that had the other plan. And so it was like the county picked up that, so they didn't have to come up with that big amount of money. They were talking to me about how it worked, and I didn't get any details, but they said they'd be willing to come and, or to talk, you know, send me all their information on how they implemented it and how it's working. They said everybody seems to be fine with it, so.
But there are two thoughts, on that particular side of it. In the moving over, it does cost more for the employee who stays in the $250 deductible. But then it costs less for the ones that, if there were any, to choose for the higher deductible, the premium costs less, like $164 less. So for every $164, then it offsets the cost of the $20 more that we would be paying per employee that stayed with $250 deductible. There are counties that would pay the higher rate for everybody, and the difference would be, we put it over here, you know, in this savings account, and this line over here. And then as you go, you have a $250 deductible that you have, but if we increase it to $750, then that $500, if you met that, the county would supplement that for you. And that's where a lot of counties are going and doing some of that. Part of the incentive is, you know, to offset some of those required costs because it is going up.
And my only thing is with going with a higher deductible is when you go with a higher deductible, you got a higher out of pocket. And this, because I've worked for the state for so many years, well, you too, you'd get a raise, but it would only be to offset what the insurance increased, you know, because it's.
Well, you know, the fact is, if our employees can't pay for their families to be insured, they're not gonna be able to come up with $4,000 with them.
So the thought behind that was, and this is where that comes from. I agree with you that it's gonna be difficult coming up with $4,000 or $3,000. I totally agree. When my babies were little, praise the Lord, we didn't have anything major. But my question is, how many of those employees who don't have their children insured now at all? And so a $40 copay or a $150 emergency room visit copay beats nothing. And that's where I was going.
That's where that WebMD comes in. Because I haven't been utilizing it, so every time my kids, in fact, right after senior camp, it costs $300, you know,
Yeah.
$300 every time, because I haven't taken, and that's just for the visit, you know, but,
But that was the thought process, not that anybody would be able to bill $4,000, but something for a catastrophic loss, you know, a catastrophic claim or whatever. That was the thought process, and you would have the option to take the $4,000 this year, and if for whatever reason your child develops some sort of chronic illness, next year you can go back to the $250. They did speak that. But the thought too was primarily. The thought was just to give our employees an option. And if they choose it and it doesn't work, then next year they go back.
So let's just say down the road, we decided to go to a $250, $500 plan, and then have that option of someone being able to go to the $4,000, $8,000 deductible. Or, you know, which is the option number 3 there. Say that person gets in there, you're telling me the next year they can decide to, hey, I don't like that plan, so I'm gonna go back to the $250 plan.
That is what
I get that in writing.
And they're not gonna give that to you.
Let me clarify.
No, they're not.
On the two,
If we lose our grandfather status,
we won't never get it back.
We won't never be able to get
then
it back.
we're done.
Well, anytime you offer any other option like she's talking about, you're gonna lose.
Your grandfather, yeah, you're gonna lose your
You're gonna
grandfather.
lose that.
On the,
And in the beginning, when the big push was because nobody knew how the Affordable Care Act was really going to work and affect people. And I don't think we still really know all of it, but that was the reason to start, because basically what we were told at conferences back in the day when this first came about was if you don't keep the same policy and you leave the grandfather status, they can do anything to you they want. They have certain boundaries that they have to follow if you're under grandfather status. Now, if that's true or not now, I can't really, nobody really knows any answers when I question, I did a poll on my list, so they don't really know what all that, other than it allowed you to keep your same policy, they couldn't take it away from you.
What was you saying, Mike?
I was discussing with one of my employees about the $250 deductible, which they were saying, no, we got a $2,500 deductible. But the $2,500 is like if you have a major surgery.
Yeah.
That's the 20%.
That's
$2,500.
out-of-pocket expense.
Out-of-pocket.
You have the out-of-pocket before it goes into major medical.
Yeah, but like just normal going to the doctor or even for the emergency room or whatever, it's $250 deductible. Correct.
Well, it's $250 for, your copay is your copay, it doesn't go towards your deductible. If you have some kind of procedure or hospitalized, then it does.
So the co-insurance, in and out of the network, so the co-insurance is the 80% of that would be that. I mean, 20% would be the other part of that, would be that $2,000. But for the most part, our employees don't see that.
Well, see, that's what I'm trying to figure out when we're talking about a $3,000 deductible or whatever. Are we talking about for major surgery or whatever?
So every day going to the doctor, every day you chose a $3,000 deductible. If you had to go have surgery, then you would do the $3,000 deductible. And then it would be,
But you would never, just have going to normal stuff, you would never reach a $3,000.
No. When the idea is, again, I go back to, insurance is a gamble, so you're betting that you don't use it, they're betting that you are, it's on premiums are, and then vice versa is why you do what you do, the choice that you make. But in my mind, offering the other part of it, this higher deductible, it was because most of our people don't reach the $250 deductible. Most of them are just worried about taking their kids for a copay to the doctor for a snotty nose or a flu or whatever it is. So that being said, unless there was this something else, this surgery, somebody, whatever, and the truth of the matter is, if somebody broke a leg and they had to have surgery, you're going to go to the ER anyway. It's going to be a, you know what I'm saying? Like there's always that, and so in my mind, the benefit would be something is better than nothing, and it is the gamble that you're typically not going to use that insurance. You're not going to use that $3,000. Not everybody. Most people don't. Most people truly do not.
Well, some of the medicines now are really expensive, does that go against your deductible?
Well, that's handled, that's not through Blue Cross Blue Shield, that's national.
Something like that.
I'm not so sure that's not moving.
I know they had talked about it, Tanya, but I didn't know that that was, they went separate because, years ago, because
Of the cost of medicine.
of the cost of medicine, that Blue Cross, they could get it cheaper if they contracted it with a different company versus our insurance.
But I would like to go back and tell you that,
Are you looking at that one? That tells you what pays for it.
Jackie's right, when this first came out, everybody was worried about this grandfather, when to say what you do, because nobody knew what the Affordable Care was gonna do. You were scared of change, scared of losing something that you knew. in all of the research, all the questions, because I had asked 1,000 questions, one of the benefits for this losing the grandfather part of it, there's two. There's limits that now we could be subjected to under a grandfather clause, because the grandfather clause didn't accept or carry over with all of the good things for the Affordable Care Act. And what that did was, somebody gets married, and that's a change of life thing, and maybe they're bringing on a child that has cancer or has diabetes or has whatever. Our policy now could restrict that if they didn't have prior coverage, and if they have to wait. This non-grandfather policy cannot restrict the amount of money that we pay for these things. So those are benefits. And again, it goes back to the preventative care. By law, it has to be free. It has to be no cost to the person. So there are benefits, and I think hopefully next year we can do a little bit more research into that and kind of look to make a decision for next year.
Leanne, can you give me like a link for that web MD? That way I can print it out and give it to my guys, and, explain.
Sure. Well, didn't TAC have, because I got one on my refrigerator.
Well, I've got all kinds of magnets, and it's in your book, and in fact, I would have some books before we leave here today.
Okay.
Because I got one on the refrigerator, and I used it one time when my grandson was running a fever, and I didn't know, based on how little it was, how much I could give him a Tylenol, and I called them, and they told me. They were real good.
Well, does anyone have any other questions about the insurance? Any other? Do you have anything else, Madam Treasurer?
No, sir. I would ask that, at some point we consider what this incentive might be, countywide incentive, to help us offset some premium.
But you are recommending though right now that we stay put. All right. Anyone else? Did you want to, because we can talk about other matters.
I just want the proposed budget that I gave you. I need y'all to look at y'all's budgets and let me know if y'all want me to change anything, or if you want to keep the same budget.
Yeah, as
Because if you look at what I put on there about that budget that you're going to look at, has the increase of the premium for the insurance plus the increase of the match for retirement, because we went from 7.2 to 7.53, and the increase in the workers' comp insurance, which I already have plenty budgeted. It was really high and it came down and it's been down. And one thing I wanted to also say is us being part of this pool, if we were trying to carry this kind of insurance on our own, we surely wouldn't be able to afford it. But because we're part of the pool, and it's the same way with our retirement, our rate is based off of a pool. So that's what helps us not have to, because first thing people ask when they get their paycheck, when they're a new hire, is they're required to hold out 7% to put in the retirement system. The county matches 2 for each dollar. And they want to know, why is it not showing 14% that the county's matching? It's because we are part of that pool, and when you work for the county and then you leave, and let's say you weren't vested, and you withdraw your part, they don't get the interest, they don't get the county's part, they only get the interest of what their part drew. So that keeps us with a good balance to keep that match rate down. So I didn't know if y'all realize that, but one of the questions I was always asked, why is it not showing 14% match? It's because we have enough, we make enough interest, and we are part of a pool that, and people that draw it out, if you're not vested, and you don't start, and even if you're vested, if you don't draw an annuity, you don't get what the county put in.
You can't just draw it all out. You have to take a
You have to
monthly.
take it. You used to could, but they did away with that option. So,
And you'll notice in our budget that, and I would like to say, you know,
and that's why
To
we
the-
did the increase.
Madam Treasurer, you know, for all that you've done with our investments, it looks really good.
Yeah.
We made a lot of money this year, and we're thankful for that. I think it's $238,000, close to it, that we made this year.
I know
When we was looking
Two hundred
at
and ninety-eight.
$298,000.
Yeah,
Through investments,
Thanks
so.
to the interest going up.
The interest rates has helped us tremendously. So we,
Inflation.
yeah, we've been able to take advantage of that, though, through the county and be able to place monies and things.
We have been able to really do well with that, so I'm pretty excited about it.
Yes. And it may help us as me and Jackie were going through the budget, doing the budget, it helped us tremendously. All right. Was there anything else? All right, we will adjourn this meeting at 9:41. And be back in 19 minutes.